This is just like wearing me out, listening to all these songs. So I know all my videos up to this point have basically been about like classical music and talking about composers and things like that, but I don't want to limit myself and this channel to just talking about classical music. I'm really open to talking about a wide variety of music, including pop music and jazz music, and basically any kind of music that influences people. And of course, what type of music are we hearing this time of year? Christmas music. And I have very strong opinions on Christmas music, but I feel like most people do. I feel like you either fall into the category of I love any and all Christmas music and I will fight you for it, or I can't stand any Christmas music, or at the very least I'm very, very, very particular about the Christmas music I listen to, and there's very little in between. So what better way to hash out our strong taste in Christmas music than to create a Christmas tier list? Yay! So here are my rules. I've decided to pick 20 different Christmas songs from things that you'll likely hear in like grocery stores or shopping malls, or if you're walking out in like Christmas lights and they're playing some generic Christmas music. Those are the types of songs I'm going to be judging today. Caveat number 1, I'm going to be leaving Christmas carols completely out of this. In my opinion, and when I was doing some thinking about it, trying to narrow down songs, Christmas carols, I felt you judged them on different criteria than I did a lot of the popular music Christmas songs. They're just not structured in a similar way, and they're not set up in the same way, so I didn't find it really fair to judge them in a similar way. So I will not be talking about any kind of carols or any kind of, especially not any of like the religious Christmas songs. I want to focus more on the secular stuff that you hear that in grocery stores that sometimes drives you nuts. That's the stuff I want to be focusing on today. And then also, caveat number 2 is for many of these songs, there are many different versions of these songs. So I had to pick one and only one version. Sometimes there were standout songs where, hey, this song is always known by this particular person's cover of the song. And then sometimes it wasn't really obvious. And for the times that it wasn't really obvious, I kind of just went to Google or YouTube and looked at what was the first result that popped up. Because I figured the first result on Google or YouTube would probably be the one that most people would go to listen to. So if I have a particular version of a song on here that you're like, hey, I like never hear that version of the song and I always hear like this version instead, that's why. I just go with the search engine algorithms, okay? Don't fight me on it. And then also, caveat number 3, these are my opinions on my tier list, and you are completely welcome to disagree and have different opinions and hate me for my opinions on my songs. So if you don't like what I said about something, or if you have a different point you'd like to add, feel free to leave a comment below and tell me what your opinion of the tier list is. So with that being said, let's get started and get into this tier list. So starting off with number 1, we have All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. So personally, I don't like this song. I know it's like really popular and a lot of people like it, but in my opinion, it's really boring. So kind of breaking it down and how I'm going to break down all of these songs is I want to break it down into the lyrics, the music of it, and kind of the tempo of the song. I feel like that's 3 big overarching categories where I can explain my reasoning for why I'm giving a certain song a certain position. So for this song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, the lyrics are really, really surface level. I mean, like, it's just kind of like, I just want this person for Christmas. I just want you to come home. And there's not a lot of depth to the lyrics, and there's not a lot of like varying out of like other kinds of topics instead. So when I'm like judging lyrics of a song, I typically want them to be poetic in some kind of way. You know, you want it to be something that's like you pick out a line and you go, ooh, that's a really nice line. Or it can be like, you know, does it tell a nice story? I mean, sometimes a good song will tell a nice story for you and it'll draw you in and make you listen to what's being actually said in the song. And then sometimes lyrics serve the purpose of just kind of generically setting up a scene. Does it do a good job of describing what's going on in the scene? It doesn't have to tell a story, but it's almost like painting a picture with the words. And if lyrics do around one of those three things or do something very similar to one of those three things, in my opinion, it can be considered good lyrics. This song, however, just kind of talks about how the singer just wants a particular person to be with them for Christmas. It doesn't really branch out and talk about other things. It doesn't really set up a scene in any way. The lyrics are not particularly poetic or nice to listen to. They're very basic, they're very plain. So I don't really like it in that regards. And the same is kind of true with the music of the song. I mean, this song is also really infamous for its super basic and boring songs. And you've probably seen, like, was it a TikTok or a Vine where somebody was going, and like that's the whole harmony. Now, repetitive songs are not always bad, and we'll get to some examples in this video. But if it doesn't have anything else to support it, then it's really just lackluster. You can have a repetitive song. Repetitive songs aren't all bad. In fact, a lot of pop songs are very repetitive, but it's got to have something else to add to it. And if it doesn't have anything to add to it, and then the music is also boring on top of it, it just really takes it down. Now, the tempo. The tempo is probably the one and only saving grace of this song. It's more upbeat. I don't have a strong preference for upbeat. I mean, well, okay. Alright, well, okay. I have a little bit of a bias towards upbeat songs and the stuff that I personally like to listen to, but being an upbeat song does not automatically give it a better pass from slower songs. We have some slow song examples on this list, but compared to other ones that we'll see here, it's upbeat enough for it to have that happy-go-lucky feeling. So it raises it a little bit, but not by much. So overall, I'm gonna give this song a D tier. So next up, we have Last Christmas by Wham. I really, really do not like this song. I can kind of tolerate All I Want for Christmas Is You. This song, no. And here's my reasoning why on this. So the lyrics, they're incredibly boring. They're incredibly plain. Again, it's kind of like the last Christmas, you broke my heart, and I wish I could get you back, but, like, I also know that you're gonna break my heart again. And it almost comes across as whiny sometimes. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure why I get that kind of vibe from it, but rather than it being a sad, heartbroken kind of song where, you know, you can tell a good song with that kind of emotion and that kind of story, but it just comes across as so whiny to me. And I think it's not really helped by the music or the tempo. So the music, again, is really basic, really boring, very repetitive. Like, the melody is really repetitive. Everything in this is super repetitive. And then the tempo is just the cherry on top. It is so plotty, just dun, 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 dun. It goes on and on forever, and it just never seems to reach any kind of conclusion. And those three things combined just are recipe for disaster, in my opinion. I just don't like this song every time it comes on somewhere. So this one is getting a solid F tier, in my opinion. So then next, I have Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. Now, this song is not, it's okay. It's okay, I guess. I used to like this song a lot when I was a kid. I like it less so now, but, you know, tastes and opinions change. The lyrics on this one, it kind of sets up a nice Christmas scene, but it's not very descriptive. Like, I couldn't tell you, like, what it's trying to make you visualize, and it feels very just like full of fluff. Like, a lot of it is just like, happy Christmas, we're dancing around the Christmas tree, we're having a party. And if you really kind of like look through it and go like, what is the song singing about? There's not really a lot of substance there. And then this combined with just like a really kind of basic melodic line, nothing really to it, a little bit repetitive, but like, it's not as boring as it, like some other ones could be. And then it is a little bit more upbeat, so there's a little bit of that going to it. It gives you a little bit of a dancing feel. So To me, I put this kind of at a mid-tier level, so I'm gonna give this a C. So then, the next one I have on the list is Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms. And this one, so I looked at the lyrics of this one, because I was trying to look through it, listen to it, and kind of analyze the whole song, and I guess I never really like paid attention too much to the lyrics, but like, what is it even talking about? It's just like Jingle Bell Rock and having fun and jingle bells and yeah, Christmas. I couldn't like talk about fluff lyrics. Like I couldn't even like tell you like what it's trying to describe. So that was a little bit weird. The melody in this one is still, again, pretty basic. When I talk about melody and the music, I want to hear something that makes it interesting, something that makes me come back to it, something that makes me go, oh, I like listening to the sound of it. And this one, it's maybe a couple seconds of it I might enjoy, and then after a while I'm like, all right, there's nothing to bring me back to listen to it again. It's just really plain. It's not bad, it just sounds kind of plain. Also, the tempo on this is still a little bit on the slow side. I'd put this about the same level as Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, but it's the tempo that takes it down a little bit for me, because it feels like the same kind of vibe as Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, but it's slower. And that just kind of makes it drag a little bit. And when the tempo is to the point where you're feeling like it's dragging, it just feels like it's never ending. And so it's not that enjoyable to listen to. So Jingle Bell Rock, I'm gonna put at a D tier. Now, not all of these songs are gonna be bad, I promise. I just started off with a few that I guess are on the bad side for me. But the next song we have is The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, and specifically the Andy Williams version. This is one of those songs that's like, you know, some of the other ones I listed, there's a pretty clear, like, most popular version. This one, I did have to start narrowing it down and picking a specific version. But I felt like the Andy Williams one was the most iconic and the one that people would probably most likely hear somewhere. And I feel like this one's a very comfy, cozy, wintertime kind of song. The lyrics on this one, I feel like, do a really nice job of kind of painting that picturesque, like, postcard Christmas scene that we think of when we think Christmas. And it's kind of describing like that cozy feeling you get when Christmas comes around. I personally really like Christmas as a holiday, but if you don't like Christmas, I guess you wouldn't like a comfy, cozy Christmas scene. But I think this song is a really good job of painting that picture of what we think of when we think of Christmas. So like, one quick example here is, there'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. I think that right there does that's the poetry that I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be in depth. It doesn't have to be super complex. It doesn't have to be super intellectual, but it paints the picture of a Christmas in a really nice way that you can understand it and you think it sounds nice. The music for this, it's basic, but it's one of those things where the melody is nice to listen to, the harmonies are nice to listen to. It always kind of keeps you on your toes just a little bit to still make you want to listen to it again and again and again. And that's the hallmark of a good song, in my opinion, is if you want to play it again and again, then you know it's a good song. Then tempo, this one is very upbeat. This is a very upbeat song. It's very happy and joyous, and it fits the mood of what they're trying to say very nicely. So this one I'm gonna put in the A tier category. Okay, next up I have Let It Snow, and this is the Dean Martin version. Really funny side note, when I look up Let It Snow on my computer, it gives me the weather. Maybe that's because it is or was snowing outside, but I don't know why. It just decided to give me the weather when I want the lyrics. I think this one, again, is like just really cutesy kind of lyrics. It's that kind of classic Christmas postcard kind of scene. And the melody on this, I think, is kind of nice. I think it is a little bit more repetitive than It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. Not by a lot, but it's a little bit more basic and a little bit less interesting, in my opinion. And then the tempo is slower on this one. It's more of a walking tempo. So like that, moderate, oh gosh. 4.5 years of music school are failing my brain to remember tempo names. Andante, thank you. I wanted to say moderato. It's more of an andante kind of pace, which makes sense. To me, it kind of reads more as like you're walking around in the snow. And maybe with the way the melody is structured, combined with the tempo of this song, it feels a little bit too slow for me personally. So I'm just going to knock it down just a peg and give it the B category. Okay, next up we have Sleigh Ride, and this is specifically the Ronettes version. I wanted to go with a vocal version of this song because it was originally an orchestral song first, and then it was given lyrics later on, and then several people have done their own version of Sleigh Ride. The lyrics of this, I actually really do like the lyrics of Sleigh Ride. I think it's really nice, it's really picturesque. It sets up a nice scene for you to kind of imagine. It's really nice and descriptive. It's not plain or boring, but I'm actually not a huge fan of many of the vocal versions of this song. I really prefer the orchestral version. I feel like a lot of the vocal versions are just way too slow. This song is really nice when you can go fast, and it's hard to sing it going fast, but I think that going fast gives you the image of a good sleigh ride better than going da 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 da, that kind of thing. And then the Ronettes version of this, it's cute, really cheesy. Which I think it's meant to be cheesy. I'm not gonna like take away kind of points for it being cheesy, because I don't mind cheesy songs. But it is kind of like meh. I think the tempo kind of takes it down a little bit. The singer almost does this improv kind of stuff a little bit. She does a little bit of improv, but the tempo that it's at kind of just, it feels a little bit more plotty than I want it to be. I really like this song a lot better when it it's a little bit better when it's at a faster tempo. I just don't like vocal versions of this song. So this one, as much as I like the song Sleigh Ride, I feel like it kind of, the Ronettes version especially, kind of just plods along a little too much, so I'm going to take it down to about a C tier. The next one is everyone's favorite, Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano. So the lyrics for this one, Feliz Navidad, Prospero año y felicidad. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. That is it. That is the entire song. And then the melody just repeats it along with it again and again. And this song can go on and on and on and on forever. It's an upbeat song, but it doesn't add anything to it. It doesn't make it nice. And no, just overall, it is so plain, it is so repetitive, it is so boring, and it just never seems to end. So this one's a solid F tier. Next one is Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney. So, I don't know, maybe some people don't like this song because it is a little bit more unique, but I personally really like this song. I think this is an example of where you set up the visual of a Christmas scene in a really nice way. And the funny thing is, he doesn't use a lot of words to kind of describe the Christmas scene and that feeling of Christmas that you get around December time. But I think with as few words as he uses, he still does a really good job of describing it. So like even the opening lyrics are like, the moon is right, the spirit's up, we're here tonight, and that's enough. And a lot of it is just kind of like, it's just very short little lines, but they do a really nice job of giving you that image of just everybody's just here together and cozy and it's Christmas. And then the music for this one, this one's got it's got that iconic 70s like synthesizer sound along with like their traditional Jingle Bell like Christmas sound to it, and just combining the two together, it's so weird, but it still somehow works. And I think the sound creates and the melodies it does, it keeps you on your toes a lot, which is why I feel like it's nice to come back and listen to again and again and again. It doesn't stay in the same rut. It's trying to move around and trying to change. And then the tempo, I feel like, really fits the mood of it too. It's not too terribly fast. It's not too terribly slow either. It's right there in the middle and just kind of trying to create that like comfy cozy of like, we're simply having a wonderful Christmas time. It's very simple. It's sort of to the point, and it does a really nice job for what it's trying to do. So this one, in my opinion, I really like this song. I really, really do. Something about it just warms my heart every time I hear it come on. So I'm gonna put this one in the S tier category. Next up, we have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas by Michael Bublé. So this one, I picked the Michael Bublé version of the song because there are a ton of versions of the song out there. And this was one of those that when I looked it up online, the Michael Bublé one was the one that came up for like the top result. So I picked his version over like the original by Judy Garland, for example. And this one, I like the lyrics of the song. I really think this is a really pretty song. Michael Bublé's version of the song though, Michael Bublé in a lot of the songs he does comes across to me as kind of like a lounge jazz singer. And I'm not a huge fan of lounge jazz singers because they tend to take things really slow, like a lot slower than you'd expect it to be. And they kind of try to toss in all this improv and they drag it out a lot in my opinion. And Michael Bublé doesn't do that with everything that he's done. There are some of his songs that I do actually really enjoy and really like to listen to, but this version of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, it loses the spirit of the original one, which if you don't know, the original version is sung by Judy Garland in the movie Meet Me in St. Louis, and was meant to kind of console her younger sister because they were supposed to move like several states away after Christmas, and all their friends and family, they were going to leave them all behind, and it just made for a really sad Christmas. So she's trying to cheer her up a little bit, and I feel like in Michael Bublé's version it just kind of loses that comforting spirit that the original one had. It comes across to me more as like, let me just show off my singing skills to you, like woo you with my voice almost, which is kind of his shtick a little bit. Which is, and again, not bad in all songs, it's just this version of it, it felt very slow and kind of drug on a little bit more than I'd like it to. So this particular version of the song, I'm gonna give a B tier. The next one, I put this one on the list because I do tend to hear this one every now and then in stores and stuff, and it's Little Saint Nick by the Beach Boys. So the lyrics, I looked it up. Is Little Saint Nick the Santa's sleigh? Like, I did not catch that just casually listening to it. I think they're talking about Santa's sleigh, and the sleigh is called Little Saint Nick. The lyrics aren't bad and really just hammering one point home. They spread out a little bit, kind of talking about the sleigh, different aspects of the sleigh. So it's not just kind of one track mind like, for example, Last Christmas is. You gotta admit, like, the music is really repetitive, like the basic melody line just is repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And then the tempo, again, is a little bit on the plotty side of just it just doesn't stop. And that's all there really is to it. So it's not horrible to listen to. I feel like there are worse songs. It could be a lot slower and that would really make it bad. But it could be a lot more interesting too. There could be something more interesting to the melody or the harmony. They, just if they threw in like one little element to make it a little bit more interesting, I feel like it wouldn't be that bad of a song. But it's just there. It's like eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you know? You get what you're expecting, I guess. So I'm gonna put this one right in the middle. It's gonna be a C tier. Next up, I have Christmas Time Is Here by the Vince Guaraldi Trio. Vince Guaraldi Trio. This one. I love this song. This is the vocal version rather than the instrumental version, although I really enjoy both. But this one is the vocal version of it. Now, I can see why people might hate on this a little bit because it's sung by a children's choir, and kids are not really well known for being able to hit all the notes properly. But again, understanding that they picked a children's choir because it's supposed to, it was on Charlie Brown Christmas. So it's all about kids, right? So they chose children to sing this song. But I feel like it gives it that extra layer of just magic. I feel like it gives it that innocence of Christmas. And even though they can't quite hit all the notes properly, I feel like it gives you that image of the innocence and the purity of the Christmas season. And then again, lyrics on this are really, really beautiful. This is what I would consider to be good poetic lyrics. Like if you're writing lyrics and you want to write poetic lyrics, like that's your goal in mind, something like this song is what I would say you should aspire to. It just gives you little brief images of Christmas like ideas and Christmas just scenes, but the way it describes them is, hold on. So here's my example. Snowflakes in the air, carols everywhere, olden times and ancient rhymes of love and dreams to share. It's such a really beautiful way to describe Christmas. And then it's a slow song, but this is a really well done slow song. It's supposed to be nostalgic. It's supposed to be just kind of reminiscing on Christmas images and that feel-good feeling that you have around the season. So this one is a solid S tier, in my opinion. It's such a pretty song. And the instrumental version is really good too. The next that I have is Santa Baby by Eartha Kitt. So this is like the original Santa Baby. And I kind of wonder if I'm gonna have an unpopular opinion of this song, because I really like this song. I think it's really fun. And the thing is, you have to remember, okay, so number one, I'm judging the Eartha Kitt version of this song. So not any of the weird, like, ones that you saw in like a Christmas talent show or like in the jazz lounge the other night. Not this year. But previous years, because some people do take it too far in their singing and performing of this song. But this version, the Eartha Kitt version, I really like. Well, first of all, I think a lot of people misinterpret the song. I think a lot of people don't realize the original message and what it's supposed to be, especially her version of it. It's not, I think a lot of people think that it's like, oh, it's weird because she's like flirting with Santa and that she's so like demanding and she's like spoiled. But the thing is, like, that's the point. It's kind of like the singer is creating this character that you're supposed to make fun of. Like she's this like daddy's girl and like big money kind of person who thinks that she can just get what she wants by flirting with Santa Claus a little bit and then demanding the most ridiculous things you can imagine. The whole joke is that, like, why on earth does she think that she's gonna get a platinum mine from Santa Claus? Like, even in the line of, like, think of all the fun I've missed, think of all the fellas that I haven't kissed. Like, that's what makes her to be on the nice list, is that she hasn't kissed boys. It's the whole joke is you're supposed to kind of make fun of her. And so with that in mind, to me, it's a really fun and playful song. Plus, I also think that the music of it is kind of, it's fun and it's catchy and it has that upbeat kind of almost parody kind of spirit to it. And even the tempo, it's like got that slinky da-doom, ba-doom, 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 ba-doom. It just kind of rolls right along and it fits the theme of what it's trying to create, of just this funny song of this silly girl who's just kind of like, will you please give me a yacht and a platinum mine and diamonds and stuff from Tiffany and all this other stuff. And so with all of that in mind, I still do think there's better Christmas songs out there, and I think it's still a little bit niche for me to call it quite S tier, but I'm gonna put this one at an A tier because it's almost there. but it's not one that most people would want to regularly play. Next up, we have The Christmas Song by Nat King Cole, also known as Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, but the official name for it is The Christmas Song. Just not everybody knows that. This one is such a pretty song. The lyrics of this are really, really pretty. I think it's that same kind of idea of the Christmas time is here, just really poetic lyrics, just creating this really beautiful image of Christmas. It takes its time. Again, it's that slow, nostalgic kind of feeling to it, so the tempo is really slow. And the music of this one is actually surprisingly complex. I always try to sing this one around my house, and every time I do it, I always go, oh, shoot, this one's such a hard one to sing, because it modulates keys all the time and like throws in weird chords every now and then, so it has these sudden harmonic shifts. It's actually really hard to sing just by yourself if you're trying to remember the whole thing and you don't have anything to help you. I think my favorite line is, and so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92, kind of implying like Christmas is for everyone, you know? I really like this song, so this one's an obvious S tier for me. Next up, we have White Christmas. This one is the Bing Crosby version. Again, I had to pick a version of this. There's a lot of songs on here that I had to pick either between Bing Crosby or Michael Bublé, because those were the top two kind of candidates for a lot of these songs. This one I picked Bing Crosby. White Christmas, it's an okay song. It's a little bit basic. Even being a slow song, it's a little bit slow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. It takes its time. It's a little bit too long for me. It's repetitive, but it's still pleasant to listen to. It's not one that's like gets stuck in your head and makes you want to rip your hair out because it's just so repetitive. It's repetitive without being annoying. But there's not really much to it. There's not really much substance. It's nice, but I feel like it's plain. So this one I'm gonna give a B tier. I'll Be Home for Christmas. I feel like this one, I'm not gonna say too much on this one. I feel like it's pretty much the same as White Christmas. It's just like White Christmas, but a different song. Again, oh, sorry, this is also the Bing Crosby version again. So I guess that's to be expected. It's a very similar song, same singer, but I don't know, I feel it's, again, pretty basic, not much to it, nice to listen to, but there's not much substance to it to make it interesting for me to go, oh, it's such a beautiful song. So again, B tier for this one. So next up we have Christmas, Baby Please Come Home by Darlene Love. So there's a few different versions of this song too. I feel like Darlene Love is one of the more popular versions of it. So I kind of picked that one. The lyrics of this one are pretty surface level. There's not a ton to this song. It's kind of like All I Want for Christmas Is You. It's just like, just please come home. And then that's all you really talk about. That's all you really have to say. It's just, there's no depth to it doesn't tell a story. It doesn't set up a nice scene. It's not very poetic. It's just very, very, very surface level. Music is super repetitive in this one. Just like hammering home one idea, and the music kind of emphasizes that. So this can get a little bit on the annoying side. It is upbeat, which I guess is nice, but I don't think it adds to it. Sometimes a upbeat tempo can help a song, which I guess this one helps it from being not too plotty, but like, it's really repetitive, very bare bones in its any kind of substance, and I just feel like it's not really worth listening to. So this one is going to be a D tier in my opinion. Winter Wonderland. This one I had to pick the person, so I picked Michael Bublé for this one. Michael Bublé. Lyrics are nice, I guess. They're, I like the original version of Winter Wonderland. I feel like it's a little bit plotty, but I feel like any version of Winter Wonderland is a little bit plotty because it's supposed to be that kind of andante, like walking tempo. So you can't expect a ton from it, I guess. It's like enjoyable to listen to. Like the lyrics are like, it paints a nice picture of like a Christmas scene. It's like a good plus, I guess. So it's not terrible because it's not annoying. It's not like kind of that like the other D tier, C tier ones I'm talking about where it's just kind of like draining on you a little bit. This one's upbeat and nice to listen to. I just don't feel like it has enough substance to be put on an A tier or S tier list. So this one is a B tier. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. This is the Mariah Carey version, which is going to be different than a few other versions of the song. So this is the Mariah Carey version, which is similar to like the Jackson 5 type version, but I feel like the Mariah Carey version is more well known. I mean, you can't expect much for the lyrics on this because it was supposed to be a simplistic, almost like children's level song. I don't think it's meant to be a children's song, but it is kind of a children's level kind of song, so you can't expect much for like a lot of in-depth lyrics. The music is not terrible, and I feel like it does kind of enhance the original like Santa Claus is Coming to Town by giving it that kind of upbeat feeling. So it's, out of the other like Mariah Carey song I had, it's better. So this one's not horrible. And I also don't think it's a really annoying song. It doesn't like hammer home one idea, but maybe that's because of, you know, the song that it is, the Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It's not just one singular track mind. There's a little bit of depth to its storytelling and scene setting. And then again, the music and the way it's written is helpful in keeping it interesting in a different way than the original version did. So I'd say this one's like middle of the road. It's like a C tier. And then lastly, I decided to throw a really modern one on here by doing Santa Tell Me by Ariana Grande. I feel like I hear this one a lot in stores and stuff, so I figured throw it on the list. And this one I don't hate. Like, I feel like, you know, a lot of people would want to hate on modern pop song versions of these songs, but this one I don't. It's catchy, it's upbeat, it's got like this kind of groove that makes you want to dance to it a little bit. The lyrics are pretty straightforward, similar to Last Christmas, but they have a little bit more depth in their storytelling than like something like Last Christmas does. But it's upbeat and a little bit catchy, so I kind of like that in that regard. I still don't think it's great. I think that it's still really surface level in like its lyrics, its storytelling, its music. There's not a lot of depth to it, nothing that makes it sound really interesting that would make me want to come back to it. And maybe that's because it's not really my style. I don't know. That could be also it too. So this one I'm gonna give it a solid C. Okay. And with that, I am slowly losing daylight. That's what I get for recording this time of day. But you know, it gets dark at 4 o'clock around here, so. So yeah, feel free to leave in the comments what you think of my opinions here. If you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm right, if you have something else to add, if you had another song that you'd like to add on to the list that you didn't see on here, that you'd give a different tier list. So feel free to leave a discussion in the comments. And with that, I will see you next time. Goodbye.